someone that's got talent that's really like developing themselves, and maybe they want to do something bigger, and they would love to have a bigger audience that recognizes their art, talents, or unique abilities. What advice would you give to them right before they're about to pop off and have hundreds of thousands or millions of people all of a sudden aware of who they are, their gift, and their talent?
Yeah,
so that they set themselves up to be, healthy as opposed to reliant on the opinions of that audience.
I think the most important thing is to have 3 to 5 really good friends before you're famous, that are with you because of who you are and not what you accomplish. And they're not the ones that are riding on your success. They're the ones that are with you and are committed to your success. Because I think what happens so oftentimes is we let go of those people, and then when we become famous, we surround ourselves with people who only say yes to us, and that becomes a real challenge. I mean, a huge part of what I do in coaching one-on-one is just tell people the truth, and it is so much harder than you think, right? Because I remember one time having a conversation with someone that lasted a few hours. And when they finally saw it, actually, it lasted about 2 months of coaching. And after 2 months, I gave them this insight, and they said, "How long have you known that?" And I said, "From the first minute."
Right, of knowing you or meeting you, yeah.
And they said, "Why didn't you tell me right away?" And I said, "It's one thing to know something about you. It takes longer to get you ready to hear it. And, you can say it, and if a person isn't ready to hear it, it doesn't go anywhere. And so what you want is people in your life that just tell you the truth, and you don't throw them out of your life. And when Kim and I were friends, I was about to take off on a trip to New Orleans, and we got in a fight, and she said, "You are so arrogant." And my immediate thought was, I don't need this. I can date someone who thinks I'm humble.
Uh-huh.
But my backup thought was, I'm probably going to marry this person, because it doesn't even matter if she's right or wrong. I just assumed she was right. And what mattered was that she cared more about telling me what she thought than the relationship. And we've been married 40 years, and I think one of the things that's really helped me is we married someone who would just tell me what she really thought about me, really thought about my choices, really thought about my attitude, really thought about my journey. And that has given me a great relational compass in my life, And even when I would start some huge projects, like when I started Mosaic, there were 4 families, and I said, I'm a person that's going to make some radical changes. I'm going to innovate and create things that maybe have never existed before. But I want to make sure that these 4 families, they were not innovative or creative, but they had deep integrity. And I told myself, if these 4 families ever say to me, what you're doing is unethical, I will stop.
Right.
And so and they were not my friends. They were acquaintances. They were just people I identified as having incredible virtue. And I told myself, they're my benchmark. And, 40 years later here in LA, or 30 years plus, they're still with me.
Wow, that's cool.
And it is very, very amazing, but and probably 20 years later, I told them, you were my benchmark. And because you need to have those, you need to have some external benchmarks in your life. You need to have people who go, "Hey, Louis, you were okay, but you're not okay right now." Or, I don't know if that decision is the best thing for you. Or, and you have to have people that you trust and you can still disagree with, but you let the counsel kind of seep in.
Yes.
And you process it, and then you make your own decision, but at least you have those voices in your life.
Mm-hmm. How does someone, when they've gained recognition, fame, or some type of audience or community, and they haven't had that advice beforehand, and they're caught up in it now, how do they get back to a place of peace or wholeness or self-awareness about who they are, as opposed to what everyone's thinking about their own identity?
I think this is why there's been an explosion of masterminds. Because when you're already successful, you're not really willing to listen to everyone.
Right.
But you are willing to listen to a peer group.
Yes.
And you're willing to be in an environment where people are as committed to excellence or success or whatever you're committed to. And I started this one mastermind for business guys, and I was at this event, saw this business guy. I think when he was 30 years old, he had his company at 100 million. And then, from his own description, due to his arrogance and character, he lost the entire company. His board voted him out.
Oh.
And then he rebuilt another $100 million company. So he's a pretty successful guy.
Right.
So we sit down and we're starting to talk. He goes, so what do you see? And I said, what I see is that you're going to die alone.
Wow.
And he just kind of looked at me, and I said, you're super successful, but what you communicate to people through your essence is stay away from me. I don't need you. I'm not going to give you access to who I am as a human being. I said, I met you the same day, and I named 3 or 4 really influential people. I said, all of them have become my friends, and all of them have become each other's friends, except for you. You don't have to be my friend. I may not be interesting enough for you, but you need to have some friends in your life. And if you react to them the way you reacted to me, I know you're alone. And later on, some other business guy came up and said, hey, this guy told me that you kicked him to the curb, and he said, no one talked to me like this. But I didn't have anything to lose. I wasn't trying to get anything from him. And I just looked at him and I thought, this is a really interesting human being who, if he could just make a small incremental shift in his life, could be super successful and not alone. And so he came up to me that night, he goes, so what do I do? And I said, start saying yes to people. So literally, I never meant to start a mastermind, ever. That night, I decided to start a mastermind. I sent out a text, and he was the first one to sign up.
Wow. Yeah.
And I really started it for him and 11 men that I knew he would respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of it is you need to have people in your life that you respect. And then you have to have someone in your life that maybe you kind of respect more than yourself. That maybe he's taken the journey a little further than you. And don't come to me to learn real estate.
Right.
And,
investing in real estate.
Don't ask me about, tech, stocks or anything like that, But if you want to know how to live a whole life and how to have sustained success, that's something I'm good at. That's something I know. And so you have to find people who have an expertise in where you want to go in your life.
Yeah.
The same frequency can have a positive and negative expression of it. And when you're listening to different people, there are certain frequencies that you like to hear in, that you hear best, and certain frequencies that maybe you are repelled by and you actually shut down. And so a huge part of communication, people think, it's what you're saying, or even just how you're saying it